In August 2015, the Minister of Energy said a procurement of 3,126 megawatts of new IPP gas-fired generation capacity. 3,000 megawatts was allocated to liquefied natural gas development by IPPs, and 126 megawatts was allocated to a domestic gas program. Seen as one of the cheapest forms of energy, the industry hopes implementation can be set in motion.
It all depends on government policy. It all depends on how fast government wants to go. All we know at this stage is that government announced that it intends to have a gas-to-power program, and all we would understand it would be done as part of an energy policy that government would drive.
Dia says although investors understand that project development is often met with delays, but policy clarity is key.
The delays we're talking about at the conference are not just South African delays. There are delays in many other geographies, in many other countries on the continent. Every time you introduce something new, you are likely to have to deal with lots and lots of complexities. And in the issue of project development, those are some of the things that investors always understand that those things will happen. The most important issue is that there should always be clarity in terms of policy, clarity in terms of what the public sector wants to do, what the government wants to do, so that people are able to follow that policy and make investment decisions.
South Africa is not the only country looking to a diversified energy mix. Nigeria sits with more gas than it does oil reserves, and it's beginning to consider monetizing it in order to keep the lights on.
Nigeria is described as a province of gas with a drop of oil, and if you compare the fact that we've lived on oil revenues for the past since the 70s, and all that translates to is a drop as compared to the gas we're sitting on, then something needs to be done. And I think we have enough appetite for gas to power. If one thing, gas is the cheapest source of feedstock.
Asked if she sees a change in attitude in African governments in terms of embracing new ways of producing energy, Duru says most of the change has had to be forced.
If politicians do what they do best and leave policy to the private sector, and you get in the technocrats in the room that understand the sectors, I think things will work better. But what we find with most of the jurisdictions in Africa is that, the government would always want to have that hold over some of the sectors that should be liberalized. So the truth is, yeah, we're seeing changes. We're far cry from where we were years ago. If nothing else, we've unbundled the power sector in Nigeria, which was a vertically integrated, government-owned industry before. We've unbundled, we're in the process, and the reform continues to grow. But more importantly, where there's a crisis, there's a force, on government to look at, alternatives.
The Africa Power Roundtable continues on Thursday, where off-grid opportunities and opportunities for women in the energy sector will be discussed. Dia Boseto, SABC News, Johannesburg.